Once again, I've got a scan of a period manual here. This one for Sid Meier's Pirates. This was the first Sid Meier game that was called Sid Meier's whatever, instead of something by Sid Meier, or without his name on the box at all, or the manual for that matter. At least one version of I don't know whether it's the box or the manual, shows Sid Meier as the pirate, but in this case, this doesn't look like him. And it says, being a complete and comprehensive account of the great age of buccaneering in the West Indies between the years 1560 and 1700, second edition. This is, I think, because this was released after the ports to different platforms. Originally, Pirates was only for the Commodore 64, which is less strange than it seems if you grew up in the 80s. Because if you grew up in the 80s, you know the Commodore 64 was maybe the favorite affordable gaming computer of the time, not the IBM PC or the Apple II. But they did port this to the Apple II and to DOS, and you can see they putting disclaimers about the copyrights, Tandy, which was typically a DOS manufacturer affiliated with Radio Shack, Atari, some of those were DOS, some of them were Unique, and IBM, which would mean DOS. So you can see the fact that they're mentioning this shows that this is a multi-platform manual. Now the credits, Sid Meier, of course, Michael Hare, who worked also on Silent Service, and then Arnold Hendrick, I remember his name. He was the lead designer on Silent Service 2, 3 years after Pirates. And they give some more playtesting credits here, which includes some Commodore user groups, which makes sense because the original version was for Commodore. And they give this long introduction, and there's a tremendous amount of history in this book. As you can see up here in the Acrobat reader, the Acrobat version is 84 pages long. So very, very complicated. But actually, I have a little disclaimer about that. Here's an interview with Sid Meier in the Guardian newspaper in Britain by Stuart Dredge. That's the interviewer. This interview is from 2015. I've got to search for, here we go. So what he admits is when he developed Pirates, he wasn't as strict on realism as he was with Silent Service and F-15, Strike Eagle, and a lot of the other games, because he wanted it to be as much a game about pirate movies as about the real thing, because he wanted it to appeal to as many players as possible. So he says, Pirates was designed more around your fantasy of pirates than the actual reality, he admits. That allowed you to bring in all the stuff from the movies, whatever you had read, whatever was in your imagination. We wanted to tap into that with our games. Another significant change with Pirates also was that he moved towards strategy games like Civilization. This is Civilization 5 here in the screenshot. And there's Starships, another one. He's basically known for strategy games nowadays, but he, of course, had originally developed simulators like F-15 and like Silent Service. But his strategy games are more about making decisions which then affect your career. And you can choose circumstances like the time period in Pirates, for example, or in Silent Service, especially Silent Service 2. It reminds me a lot of the Choose Your Own Adventure books, which I don't think Sid Meier ever wrote for these, but you would make decisions while reading the book about what page to continue on. And it would be the story would be about you, of course. And so it was a little bit like a strategy video game. And I have trouble believing it didn't very much affect how games developers thought about this. One of the games that I'm thinking of especially is Shadowgate, and this is a more recent version being shown here, but Shadowgate back in the day was one of these strategy games where you had to make step-by-step decisions about what to do next, going through a castle, the castle Shadowgate, going from room to room and deciding how you would deal with each challenge from a list of choices. And you would either live, or you would die, or you would succeed, or you would fail. And it was a pretty popular game on the Nintendo Entertainment System, but it was also available for several other platforms. The newest version is, of course, for Windows, Mac, Linux, and iOS, because those are the most popular platforms nowadays, of course. And I think the only reason why the system requirements are so high is that this is sort of the lowest you would ever see for any game nowadays. It wouldn't surprise me if the game would play on something weaker, although don't buy it without finding out for sure, obviously. Apparently it's available on Steam, which is kind of cool, but I'm not going to actually play through it at the moment because I'm concentrating on Sid Meier games for the moment. And I would like to do Pirates next. So, to start the playthrough of the original Sid Meier's Pirates, this is the splash screen. I apologize that there isn't any sound on the game. For some reason it's not working. It's kind of the case with some very old software. But they give you the choice in the beginning to select a specific time period. Here I'm going with the one that the manual says is the easiest, 1660, the Buccaneer Heroes. And I won't get to very much before I run out of time on this video, but I choose English Buccaneer because the nationality matters, because this game heavily encourages you to work as a privateer, and so the nationality that you choose will matter. And then the apprentice is a skill level, and then I'm going with wit and charm, just because that sounds funny to me for my special ability. I don't know how much difference that really makes in gameplay. I haven't played this game enough to really know. So they start a narrative where you're basically a debt slave and you have to get out of it by, I guess, becoming a pirate, because I guess that's what they do in 1660. And this is a question about the game, actually, not about history, and you get the answer from the manual. So I know that the answer in this case is March and late March. So I know already that it will accept it. Yes. So some mutineers want you to take over their ship, but you have to fight off the original pirate captain. And that's going to be in the next video, because I'm out of time.